right. How you doing, man? You did you need like an extra batch of caffeine or anything to did you bring in a couple of Red Bulls or something like that? You know, while you were watching the OTAs, because
I was going to say,
plenty of people said, "Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not going." So I'm just wondering, like,
I was gonna say, Big O, you were yawning in the introduction to to this OTA segment for our Welt Rheaume Miami Dolphins report on OTAs. I mean, I hope I can keep you awake. That's all.
Yeah, I just know football wise, there's nothing really, going on, overall. There are storylines. There are some things, to talk about. Although I just had fun because one of our guys, Frankie Fresco, who I love, but it's just ridiculous reaction because Tua wasn't there yesterday. And he was like, well, look at Mahomes and a real leader, this, that. And I'm like, dude, these are OTAs. People miss these things all the time for all kinds of different reasons. And to me, Tua is the embodiment of a leader. All he's ever done is shown you leadership from the beginning, dude. He got onto a team with a coach that didn't want him and hated him. Never pointed any fingers. Kept his mouth shut. The guy busted his hip and worked his ass off in 10 months to be ready to play, in the NFL. Played with broken ribs, played with a broken finger and a broken rib, was told to go away, Baltimore week. All of a sudden, Jabroni struggling. They call him off the bench. He doesn't say anything, brings the team back. I mean, he has the concussions. What does he do? He works on it. He understands he's got to get rid of the ball quickly. Boom, he adjusts. Now, he builds his body up for it. Now he understands, okay, I need a little bit more agility. Okay, let me trim myself down, get a little bit more agile, yet still keep the strength up, all that kind of stuff. Let me go to a QB coach. I mean, he is the embodiment, the definition of leadership, dude. He does whatever it takes to win a game, to play the game, to stay healthy, to whatever it is, dude. Ask him to do this, and that's exactly what he does in order to be better at what he does. I don't know what more you can actually ask from Tua Tagovailoa to be a leader. What, to have to be there at an OTA in May? Come on, dude.
And it was probably telling that so many of the key veterans were not at Tuesday's OTA session. After we did see some of them on the social media post from Monday, they were there for the first one. Tuesday, of course, was the first one that media was allowed to be present at. So how much is Tua really missing at an OTA when Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., Jonnu Smith, Raheem Mostert, Teron Armstead, none of those guys on offense are there. So do you really need him getting all these reps to Jody Fortson, who, by the way, was actually one of the standouts from yesterday's session? Do you need him getting reps throwing to, Eric Ezukama, that might be nice. Matthew Sexton, guys like these. So listen, it's all right. It works to even more so to the argument that it's okay when you see the list of guys that weren't present at Tuesday's OTA session. And like you were mentioning, Tua has so many things going on in his life. Now, Tuesday, it was that he was going to Nick Saban's charity golf tournament, something important to him, his college coach. Of course, it was predetermined from well in advance that he couldn't make that day. And it's not like he's missing a training camp or anything for this. It's an OTA in May. It seems like there's an understanding. These are excused absences. Mike McDaniel's not too concerned about it when he's there or not there, a combination of the two for these offseason workouts, because he's doing his own thing, getting right, whether it's losing that body fat, trimming down, getting more agile in his training that he's doing on his own, working with John Beck. You see a little bit of that hip twitch that he's added into his motion to be more efficient. He's doing his thing to get right for the season, and then it's in line with what the organization wants, and then eventually he'll get those reps, and he has gotten some of those reps with the guys that he needs to this offseason, because he's even done his individual work with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. So, and then he'll get even more so once you get closer to when you're really playing football and training camp, and you start getting into having the pads on and then really getting going toward the season.
See, I don't bog myself down on I have to do it, address the stupidity that gets out there because unfortunately, what is that? The hell is that? Because it's not just Frankie, it's other people that are overreacted with that stupidity. But see, I'm a real football geek. So I actually look at the game a little different. I look at what went on yesterday a little different. And I'll give you an example. You gave me something right there that I can just throw out for everybody else so you and I can chew on for a moment here. You just said Eric Azukama was on the field, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Was he running around catching passes?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. He was one of the better players there for that OTA session. He had one of the better days.
Why don't we get into a storyline that actually means something out there? Let's really talk football on this fucking show because that's what we fucking do on this show. Okay? They didn't go after a big receiver. We were wondering what's going on with Azukama because we don't know because they don't tell us because of the HIPAA shit. Let me tell you something. That building, brother, the HIPAA shit. That's like a neutron. That's a neutron bomb. That's COVID. They don't touch it. I'm telling you, as a guy that tries to dig in and find info, they don't want to touch injuries. They are unwilling to tell you anything about any injury for anybody. That's just the way it goes. They respect the hell out of that. But you know what? Throughout the entire offseason, what? No Claypool. Hey, why don't they go get a big receiver? This, that. And one of the things we mentioned on this show, I said, they're not getting somebody. I wonder if Azukama's making progress behind the scenes. And if you want to talk football and something that means something, okay, you guys wanted a big receiver, right? Well, there you go. Here's your first nugget of maybe a big receiver might be available to the Dolphins because they have kept him on this roster for over 2 years now, which tells me the same thing of Austin Jackson, the same thing with Liam Eichenberg. When they have conviction on somebody, when they believe in you, they are going to give you every opportunity until they run out of patience. Clearly, they have not. So this was a nice sign yesterday. You want to talk football? Okay, here you go, Dolphin fans. You guys wanted a big receiver? Maybe Azukama is still in the mix. And here you are saying that Fortson and Azukama were the better guys. And guess what? The midgets, the Oompa Loompas were off yesterday. And yesterday you had the guys on stilts running around. And look, you got to see a couple of the guys on stilts. Fortson is a former big receiver, turned tight end. And here we got Azukama, a big receiver that they have been wanting to use as a runner and as a wide receiver. So please enlighten us on what you saw in Azukama because that's the kind of football talk I want to get into.
Yeah, Azukama. I mean, several slant routes over the middle. He made I counted 3 catches in that practice. So good to see that. You know how much Mike McDaniel's offense can utilize that middle of the field on those slants. So another option there and bigger body, like you say. So presenting some size.
Did you see any?
No thanks to him. What I did, the big cat play that Fortson made was a 45-yard touchdown over the top. I took advantage of Nick Needham playing more safety. Javon Holland told us that he's working at both nickel cornerback and safety, so kind of going back and forth. And on that particular play, yeah, Needham was the deep safety on that side of the field, and Fortson made a move on him, got open, and then got to the end zone. It was that UTEP undrafted quarterback, Gavin Hardison, that threw that one, who throws a nice ball, by the way. I mean, not like, he's just an extra arm there, but I mean, good arm on the kid.
Well, it's kind of like the other kid last year who didn't have a bad arm, Blackman or whatever.
Yeah, Blackman, yeah, Glade Central, yeah.
He just didn't kind of know where it was going, and that was kind of his issue. But athletically, he had some juice to him, actually. He had an arm. And so now you're telling me here's another guy, maybe there's a little bit of raw materials there with him,
Yeah. Just I know his interceptions were pretty high in college, so something to watch as far as decision making. But he's going to be working. He was third team, of course, with Tua not present, and Skylar Thompson, Mike White leading the top 2 units. So
usually when you get that deep, those kind of guys have warts, as Parcells said back in the day. Those guys are going to have warts. They're either going to be you said interceptions. Maybe he's a bad decision maker.
Right.
Maybe he's like Blackman, that it's kind of the accuracy is not there. Or a couple of years ago, they had this kid he was a local kid out of Western Kentucky or something, and he didn't have a strong arm. Smart kid, had had
Yes.
accuracy, but it wasn't
Dowdy. Brandon Dowdy.
Dowdy.
Yeah.
Right. In a strong arm. So you see, there's always a wart. There's something that's, because when you get to that deep, the kid's a raw project one way or the other. He might not be smart. He might not have a strong arm. He might make some bad decisions. He might have, an inaccurate arm or something like that. So I'm not surprised. They're going to have some kind of trait they like, but then there's some other ones that they're going to have to try to polish up to see if they can make something out of it.
Yeah.
That's
so
all.
So, I mean, a candidate that, as the roster is currently constructed, that, if they can keep him as the practice squad quarterback, something like that, then that'd be an extra arm during training camp to be that fourth guy. If the roster remains the same with those quarterbacks, but to wrap up on Ezukanma, the neck issue, we didn't know much about it, just that it was pre-existing, and then he was on the non-football injury list for it, so not injured or reserve. So noting it's kind of like something off the field issue, and he said he was concerned for the state of his career going forward, his future based on it, but that right now he's 100% and he's full go, and he looked pretty good. And you think back to last season.
Again, you think about it, in the offseason, they didn't even explore a big receiver.
Yeah.
Not even explore. So that's why it tells me that behind the scenes, they must have liked the progress that Ezukanma. And remember, here's another positive. This is what I like. I like talking football. Here's another positive. This is also the third year for Ezukanma to be in the system.
Yeah.
So if you can finally get him on the field, and if he can stay healthy, he has made plays for you, and he knows the system, and the players know him, and Tua has been throwing to him now for a couple of years. So there's a lot of positives to it, that even if you brought someone else in, that person has to make a complete transition and learn everything. Whereas Ezukanma doesn't have to learn the scheme, doesn't have to get comfortable with the players or anything like that. He just has to kind of finish himself overall to kind of figure everything else out.
And that's the age-old thing they would say about receivers, right? That the year 3 they take a sleep. At least I remember it sort of, growing up when I was younger, high school years. Then probably we had so many young receivers flashing as rookies and second-year players that it kind of went away. But hey, well, even I remember Randy Moss. I mean, his rookie season was phenomenal. So maybe not for everyone, but a lot of receivers that they take a stride in year 3, and especially being in that same system. And even at the start of last season, you saw that Mike McDaniel had little ways that he liked to get him involved. You saw in that opener, getting him on those jet sweeps, end around motions, and getting him involved in some carries even. So maybe somebody
just put here, Easy had 10 rushes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns his senior year. So, and that's what I've talked about, that he's a dual facet type player, and that's the way they've looked at him, that he's not only a receiver, but he can be used in the run game. And I think that's why it's interesting. I'm glad to hear that he's out there, because that's kind of a dimension that we've kind of been looking for to add. And the fact that they've kept him around, here's another football note to talk about. It's almost like, is he anti-big guy? Well, maybe he's not. It's just you have to fill the quota. You have to have some speed. Okay, now you got Jonnu, who is a fast tight end. You got the kid you just said, the other big tight end that's a former receiver. Fortson. He's got speed to him too. You know what I mean? And then Ezukanma can run for a big kid. So there has to be a certain requirement in order for him to accept you, I guess. And the fact that they've kept Ezukanma around, bro, for all this stuff means they like him, they want to give him a chance, and he fits what they want to do.
Yeah, and you mentioned the run game aspect. Keep in mind, Mike McDaniel was the one that produced that Deebo Samuel 2021 season, rushing the football over there before, and he was offensive coordinator that season. That was his 1 year in that role before then making the jump to head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, yep, no doubt about it. All right, what else? Give me something else that you saw.
All right, so I mean, yeah, there were so many of the key guys that were missing, but among starters, then you did get to see, even though maybe it was just like some 7-on-7 drills, but the inside linebacker duo, Jordan Brooks, David Long, lining up with each other, getting some communication going. Same thing with the safeties and Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland in some 7-on-7 settings, even, but just working in tandem there as the two guys there. Devon Achane, he had a nice deeper route along the sideline for about 15 to 20 air yards, and then even more so on the ground, making yards after the catch there. So Anthony Walker Jr., the veteran inside linebacker as well, he tipped up a pass from Mike White. It was on this throw, and tipped it up. It was over the middle, jumped up for it, tipped it up high in the air. It came right back down to him. So he had an interception. Javon Holland nearly had an interception of his own. I know, Patrick McMorris over the top as a safety had one that he was on, but that it kind of like bounced off his shoulder pads. Almost had a pick there. So, among some of the highlights there. Yeah, and Ezukama, several catches over the middle. That Fortson touchdown stood out. Grayson Murphy, this undrafted outside linebacker, had a good pass rush around the edge. And I think it was it was Hardison on this throw. And he actually hit his arm, which I don't think the coaches want in a practice setting like this. But, he got around the edge, got to the quarterback. So maybe a little too eager to make a play on the actual quarterback. Those guys in the red jersey, let's try not to touch them.
Did they do any one-on-ones for the O&D linemen? No, right?
Well, I mean, they had the O lineman working over to the side in some 7-on-7. So then that 7-on-7, my eyes might have been more on that action. But I did notice them, and probably were running through some drills, but they weren't in pads anyhow. So as far as how much you could tell from the linemen, then
can you tell us who was playing guards?
That's one of the things that's forbidden in
my bad. Sorry.
In this session. But it was interesting. One thing is, it was in my coverage too, that there was a snap exchange, so you could tell what position this player might have been playing. That was fumbled between Jack Driscoll on a snap and a quarterback. So. There's a tell there. I won't say what position that is, but yeah, there wasn't no swinging gate where another offensive lineman was snapping the football outside of the one that usually does.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So he's working in there, and I mean they don't have Aaron Brewer wasn't participating in team drills on this day. So as far as a center on the roster, Connor Williams is still a free agent. So they had to work out different guys there. Liam Eichenberg did some slight,
okay. Very little work. Ask because I know that Phillips Chubb, Cam Smith, Chop were on the side working. So they were
Cameron Good too. Yeah.
And Cameron Good. But I was wondering, Liam Eichenberg, he was all beat up by the end of the year. Was he healthy? Was he looking good?
He was out there participating, but not too many reps that I saw. So he was out in there. Yeah,
he was out there moving around, is what I'm saying. He was out.
Right. Yeah, and even in team portions, he did get in there. As I think I can say he's a center. He did play center last year, so that's nothing newsy. But since you mentioned the guys working on the side, Jalen Phillips. You can tell there's still a little bit of a hitch in his step. A slight limp. So, so not maybe as far down the line in progress as maybe you would hope if you wanted to see him getting into football drills too soon. But I mean, it's a very serious injury that he's coming back from. Achilles end. Progress is not linear in these cases. So, you can be feeling great about your progress at one point, maybe plateau for a little bit. So, he's still got some time to rehab.
Yeah, come on, bro. We're in May.
Exactly. Yeah.
An Achilles injury. You can't expect guy in a couple of months to be, ready to go and all that. It's gonna take a while for Jalen Phillips to come back. Chubb's the guy that's going to come back faster because the ACL is easier to come back than the Achilles. Achilles is going to take a while, and you're not going to see Phillips be the real guy till 2025, dude. That's that. Like, get ready for that. Jalen Phillips will not be himself at all this season, at all. He might help out a little bit, but he's not going to be himself until next year is when he'll have the bend and he'll have, the confidence to do all that kind of stuff. He's not going to have any of that right now.
Yeah. The push off. I mean, think about it. It's going to be in his head. He's going to have to get over a mental hurdle. That same push off that he tore the Achilles on. It's tough to get over once he does get it right. So that will definitely be a mental hurdle. But good thing for both him and Chubb is that you didn't see them wearing anything protective, like whether it's compression or a brace in Chubb's case on the knee. They seem to be, Chop Robinson did have a compression sleeve on one of his legs. So maybe something to monitor going forward. But like you said, it is May. So we're still a long ways away from serious football.
Here's what you do. You have a mental note on Chop now, right? And you say, okay, well, a little ding, that's not a big deal. They always take the precautionary approach. We're in an OTA. There's no hurry, bro. We need you ready for training camp and all that. We just need you going through mental reps and be in the classroom and all that kind of stuff. Now what you need is the next time around, okay, where's Chop? Oh, he's on the field. He's working. Okay, good. Boom. It was nothing, a little bump in the road. Now, if it's something that lingers and you're back in a mini camp a month from now, and he's, now you got to okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So that's, the first glance, no big deal. Does it linger is the question. And that's where we'll keep an eye on Chop to see if it lingers, whatsoever.
And we did see him in rookie mini camp, working on either side of the ball on the edge. So there was that. So just as recently as rookie minicamp, he was out there participating in drills. So a little something. But what's most important, like you said, is getting those mental reps as a youngster right now.
Dude, he could have been working on it in the building and doing some stuff with his coach or whatever, and getting some, learning some drill, and he might have, tweaked something at the moment, and then that's just kind of, it's not a big deal. Jalen Wright, by the way, how did he look? Because I don't care about Mostert and I don't care about Etienne. I know what the hell they are, dude. This is an OTA. I don't need to see them, bro. I don't care about Armstead right now. As long as he's healthy, that's all I give a shit about. But the Jalen Wright kid, I know you saw him in the rookie camp. How about this one?
Yeah, just a little bit, not too much. I do think he has that burst that we mentioned from rookie minicamp. Now it's interesting. He was wearing a helmet cam, so maybe we get footage of his perspective on some of these drills, and Mike McDaniel can get in and really get with him, see what he's seeing, and tell him what he should be looking at as he tries to maximize his runs. Run north and south. Take the yards that are there, etc. But one thing.
Don't be surprised if Mostert is sitting there with him looking, and not just McDaniel, but Mostert telling him, hey, this is what you got to see here and that kind of stuff. Because one of the things that's very important with that cam, it's a teaching moment for him. And remember, they made that trade for the kid from the Cardinals, and then he ended up in Denver. We thought because he came from a similar type of system that he would make the transition. And the poor kid, he never really made that transition. He always made the wrong decisions, unfortunately for him. And it didn't end up becoming a good match. So I think the Jalen Wright thing, again, is very important, teaching moments, so you can try to avoid what you avoided with the Arizona kid.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds, the thing with him was he was so much inside zone experience. Right. So outside zone was a little bit new to him. He was trying to pick it up. I remember that was a big thing, that whole training camp, and then it didn't quite translate into the right decision making. But Jalen Wright, funny you mentioned him. Then toward the end of drills, that final period of practice, and he went over the sideline and just projectile vomited down. That's that heat and humidity getting to him. And I also wonder if there's helmet cam footage of that. It went through the bars of the. Sorry not to gross. I don't want to gross people out. I'm sorry for any viewers who might be eating something right now as they listen, but. It went through the bars of that face mask, and Javon Holland, a good teammate, he was nearby, tried to get him some water, pick the kid up. But man, first May practice in this heat and humidity. Comes from Tennessee, so some heat and humidity, but not quite like down here.
Not our humidity. That's the difference. Our humidity is worse than most places. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it is. All right, what do you got going on the Sentinel, folks? So folks can check you out.
OTAs definitely caught everyone up on the Tua situation. Mike McDaniel's updates on that, on Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, what we saw OTAs, a lot of what we covered here, and also like we covered here, I'll be writing on Eric Ezukanma after talking to him. Javon Holland's big revelation is a quote just saying that Anthony Reid was just actually a good guy as opposed to Vic Fangio last year. So that made some headway across the nation. Dolphins' first media or open to media OTA.
Yeah, that was good stuff by him. I mean, he kicked rocks before, so
we knew where he stood on that.
Yeah, and he danced around that too. Oh no, that was just sure, whatever. Yeah, we were born yesterday. All right, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up on Friday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And Welt Rheaume, hey, listen, we got like 9 days, and we're on June 1st. We're in hurricane season, and you guys know, man, I try to guide you. And you know what I just told you before when the show started? I got something to follow up. You know how I tell you I guide you guys, and I try to give you the best info out there? Well, here's the same thing. Welt Rheaume, we got hurricane season in 9 days. And it's going to go all the way to the end of November. If, God forbid, we get hit by any kind of storm, even if it's not a hurricane, it's some kind of a rain system. And nowadays, the systems are carrying way more water up there. So there's water damage all the time, whether it's condo homes, whether it's a busted pipe. Call Welt Rheaume, 954-966-4646, not just for bankruptcy, but homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume are absolutely amazing people and great lawyers. 954-966-4646. You call them first. They will send their adjusters, and then they will call the insurance company on your behalf. And the insurance company will have your full attention when they get a call from a lawyer, not from a client. When they get a call from us, they're laughing at us. Behind the scenes, they're like, yeah, we got a sucker, and they're gonna run circles around us because you and I don't know the laws and the loopholes. They do. Call Welt Rheaume, 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the